Yeah, so I've been in the tech industry for over 20 years. 15 of those
Mhm.
years I was a hiring manager. When a company gives you a take-home assignment, she gives her presentation. After the holidays, she gets an offer. The offer was
Mhm.
for $55,000 more than what she was targeting.
That is fantastic.
And it was
Wow.
because of how well she went prepared and how polished her presentation was.
Jonathan, great to see you again, man. Collab video number two.
Yeah, I'm excited. Been waiting for this.
I am too. And like we said before starting, love the upgraded video setup. Looks very cool.
Ah, thank you very much. Yeah, it was inspired by yours actually. So I just wanted to add a little more flair.
Nice, man. Well, the flair has been added.
Yes.
For people who don't know you, can you share a little bit of your background in tech and now as a coach for job seekers?
Yeah, so I've been in the tech industry for over 20 years. 15 of those
Mhm.
years I was a hiring manager. Um, I started off as an engineer and then I went into management. And I
Mhm.
started my
Mhm.
coaching business when a good friend of mine was laid off right before Thanksgiving. This was in 2023.
Mhm. Mhm.
Thanksgiving in the US happens in November, like is it the third or the fourth Thursday of the month? And he got laid off from a job that he was working in for quite some time. And he's a sole provider for his family. His wife is a stay-at-home
Mhm.
mom. He's got two daughters.
Mhm.
And he
Mhm.
called me asking me if I knew of anyone that was hiring. And I said, I don't, unfortunately, but I can help you with your resume. If you want me to do a mock
Mhm.
interview with you, I can help you with that.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that just started this journey where I started posting content online to help people with their resume and to do better in interviews. And that snowballed into what I've been doing lately, which is just helping job seekers. I've helped over 60 job seekers in the last 2 years. I've spoken to well over uh, 800 different job seekers in 8 different countries.
Mhm.
It's
Mhm.
been an amazing ride.
That is awesome. So, for people who are unfamiliar, what is a case study presentation, and why do you think so many companies are making them part of the interview process?
Yeah, so I want to start this off by saying that case study interviews are very different for a couple different positions.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, there is, from a consulting standpoint, case studies are usually like a business problem, or case study interviews rather, are usually a business problem that you have to sort of troubleshoot and then come up with a way of resolving. In the
Mhm.
tech space,
Mhm.
it could be a tech assignment, like a take-home assignment that someone gives you, and that you
Mhm.
then have to uh, do something like build a piece of software or do a wireframe or something, and then explain why you took that approach.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
that's what a case study presentation typically is. When a company gives you a take-home assignment, and you have
Mhm.
to first
Mhm.
complete the assignment and then do a presentation on it.
Mhm. Mhm. As a former hiring manager, what do companies look for when they're giving people case studies and then evaluating their case study presentations?
Most of the time, when they are giving you a case study presentation, they're evaluating your communication skills, your
Mhm.
ability
Mhm.
to not only put something together, which shows your skills and your expertise, like your technical ability, but also how can you communicate what it is that you've done. Because in every environment, we're going to work
Mhm.
in a team, and we need people that have good communication skills. So if you can present in front of people, that's great. If you can speak in front of small groups, that's also good because you might be demonstrating something that you're building or something that you've done recently.
Mhm.
That's typically what we're evaluating is how well do you present, how well do you communicate,
Mhm.
and can you
Mhm.
do it in front of people that might be really important.
Absolutely. Yeah. And for my audience who are non-native English speakers, when you say communicate and communication ability, that's not like how many vocab words you've memorized, right? It's not about your mastery of the English language. It's more about how you can explain things in a clear, structured way, move from topic to topic naturally, and give people all the background they need to clearly understand your methodology. Is that correct?
Absolutely. The language that you're going to use in your presentation is usually very simple language.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
don't want to use a lot of jargon necessarily because your audience might not know all the jargon.
Mm-hmm.
You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to use big words to shows, how great your vocabulary is.
Yeah, yeah.
It really is about clear and concise communication. So simple language that, someone who's just learning the language and sort of mastering it, like that's all you really need for a case study presentation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, for my audience who sometimes want to put as many advanced phrases, as many advanced words as possible into their not just presentations but interview performance because they think that will impress people, that can often have the opposite effect where
Exactly.
it doesn't make you seem more professional, it just makes what you're saying more confusing.
hmm Exactly right. Yeah. And especially when you're talking about a complex topic,
Hmm.
you,
Hmm.
the more complex a topic is, the
Hmm.
simpler the language you want it to be, because you also want
Mm.
decision makers to understand what you're saying. You want people that are not technical. And technical here doesn't necessarily mean like you're a software developer or an engineer,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
just like even if you're in finance, like the language that you're using could be way more technical than what the layperson will know. So it's
Mm.
good to know who your audience is ahead of time
That's
and
a
to
great
use the
point,
simplest
yeah.
po yeah, and to use the simplest possible language that you can.
Got it, got it. That makes a lot of sense. So you touched on this a little bit earlier, but how should candidates have a different approach, and maybe what should be the differences in their strategies when preparing a case study versus just preparing a normal behavioral interview?
Great question. In a behavioral interview, your interviewer is going to ask you questions about some experience you might have had in the past. So you want to use something like the STAR method or the PAR method to get your point across. But in a case study, you're not, you don't really have uh, that sort of approach. You actually want to take more of like a project oriented kind of approach. And what I mean by that is you want to talk about the scope of your case study, like what's in
Hmm.
scope, what's out of scope. Um, if you've built something, for example, you want to talk about the trade-offs that you had to analyze. If you're doing
Hmm.
something for like project management or program management, you want to talk about risks. Risks is a really big one to bring up. So it really depends on what you're doing. So it's a little more, it's not as clear cut as like, let's say a behavioral interview question. We all know the STAR method.
Hmm.
We all know how to prepare for that one, but
Hmm.
for the case study, it's really more about what was the problem that you were solving and how did you solve it, and then why did you take that approach?
Hmm. So the reasoning behind your actions might be a little bit more important to share in a case study because they're kind of evaluating how you work.
Exactly. That's right.
Okay, okay.
That's right. And one thing that I would mention here too for your audience is the things that you really want to get across in like a behavioral interview is what was the outcome? Like, what
Hmm.
was the outcome
Hmm.
for your customers or your clients? What was the outcome for the business? In a case study, especially if it's like a hypothetical situation,
Sure.
there really is no outcome. There's no real result.
Yeah,
It's
true.
more about the solution that you created. So that's another distinction.
That's a great point. Yeah, yeah. So you said there are a lot of hypothetical case studies, and that's true. But I have experienced with my clients, sometimes companies do want them to present their own past projects. And one thing that a lot of clients have struggled with who have lengthy careers is if I'm given a case study about what I've done in the past, where they say choose two or three of your best projects, and they think, well, I have hundreds of projects. I've been working for 15, 20 years. What should I choose? What advice would you have in that case? a presentation about you, about your past work. It's not hypothetical. How can people choose the best projects that will make the best impression on hiring teams?
Before I answer the question, we do have a distinction in the tech industry. So
Hmm.
if we're going to
Hmm.
talk about a past project, we'll call that like a project retrospective
Okay.
as
Okay.
opposed to a case study.
Okay.
So those do happen, and the preparation is pretty much the same as like in that case, you can actually talk about the outcomes that you've had.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now to pick the project, there's a great exercise technique, if you will,
Hmm.
from a storyteller named Matthew Dix,
Hmm.
and it's called Story for Homework for Life. It's called Homework for Life,
Okay.
and in it you can have four different categories: first, last, best, worst, and then you pick a topic. So, for example, if we're talking about projects, what was the first project that you ever worked on? What was the last project you worked on? The best project you worked on, and the worst project you worked on. So that gives you
Mm.
four different projects that you can choose from. So it limits the amount of options that you have.
Mm.
And you can do the same thing with, a random topic. So you could say uh, the first time you made a mistake or the last time you made a mistake, right? Like you can use that to generate stories. And that's how Matthew Dix uses it. So I've borrowed that
Mm.
concept for preparing for project retrospectives, which again is like a case study about something that you've already done.
Sure. Sure.
And that has helped people when I work with them or job seekers that I just talked to casually.
Hmm.
It tends to help them immensely because they're not picking
Mm.
from hundreds of projects, they're picking four,
Got it. Got it.
So
Okay.
that's one of my favorite tools that are out there. It's called Homework for Life, and it comes from Matthew Dix.
That is a great tip. I like
Yeah,
that. So maybe look at the job description, take the two or three biggest requirements, and just think, what was the first, last, best, and worst experience I have doing this thing? And
exactly.
then maybe select from those.
Yes, absolutely.
Nice. I really like that. So for either project retrospectives or case studies, anything when you're presenting with a visual aid, you got a PowerPoint, what sort of images and text should you focus on in the visual side of your presentation?
Yeah, so I like this question because I've seen presentations where presenters, not necessarily candidates going for jobs, but just presenters in general, will put like humor in there. And so they'll
Hmm.
use memes and things like that. And it's
Sure.
funny, but when you're trying to get a point across of like something that you're qualified to do or expertise, you want to go a little more on the serious. You want to be a little
Oh
more on the
yeah.
serious
You
side.
want to
Yeah,
show it matters to you. Yeah.
exactly
Yeah.
right. Exactly right. So I would go with visuals that help you get your to help you tell your story. So if in your case study you have, let's say, customer related data, like
Hmm.
buying
Hmm.
habits, any sort of metrics, you want to have graphs, you want to have tables, so tabular data you want to display in a table.
Hmm.
So you want to use the right visual to make your point on a particular slide. I'm a huge fan of having a visual stand on its own. So when
Hmm.
you have a visual, try not to have as many words next to the visual because that'll then distract people from your actual message, from what you're saying with your mouth.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's the visual, but it's also like how much text is accompanying the visual.
Sure.
Anytime you
Yeah.
have data that you're using, cite the source, those sorts of like things
Hmm. Hmm.
that can really add some polish to your presentation.
I like that, yeah. And just generally speaking, I've never been a big fan of multiple paragraphs of text on a single slide,
Right.
because then what often happens is the presentation, it essentially becomes you just reading the slide to the audience.
Exactly.
So, yeah, key bullet points with the most important information, structured in a way that reflects how you'll be speaking, and then images that further visualize whatever point you're making.
Exactly right. And one more thing, if you're showing a visual, let's say like the map of a town or something, and you want
Mhm.
to highlight specific parts of that visual,
Mhm.
you can add little call outs and arrows and stuff and animate them. Don't show them all
Mhm.
at once,
Mhm.
like as you're talking. press click and then show the one
One
arrow.
arrow comes in for
Exactly.
that point you're going to make. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
That way, people aren't like bombarded with all these visuals and then again
Hmm.
distracted.
Hmm.
Uh, Same thing with your bullets. Don't just show all your bullets the moment you go to a slide. Animate them.
Hmm.
Bring in one bullet at a time. So as
Hmm.
you're moving
Hmm.
on with the topic or the conversation, people can follow along and they can focus on what you're saying.
Hmm. So maybe at the very end you got two graphs on the slide with five or six bullets, but you wouldn't start with all of that the moment you switch to that slide because
Exactly.
there's the kind of an information overload. The audience might be looking at point three of graph two, trying to figure that out while you're still talking about graph one.
Exactly. That's exactly right. This will make a really good impression when you're doing your case study presentation because
Mm.
you're showing your ability to not only communicate but also to put a presentation together. That's going to win you all sorts of brownie points.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely. The way you can organize and categorize information.
Yes, precisely.
That's a great tip. So, on the flip side, what are some mistakes, whether it's in their presentation, in the slides they design? What are some things that people do that can mess up their case studies?
The biggest mistake that I see with case studies, presentations, take-home assignments, anything where you need to talk, where you need to present what you've done, is that people don't practice. Like job seekers don't practice. So if you know you have a presentation coming up, they've told you about a week in advance, try to practice 2 or 3 times a day.
Hmm.
Not just because you want to nail the presentation, but like you also want to kind of time yourself.
Yeah.
You might only have 3 minutes, or you might have five.
Hmm.
So if you're talking and you're still on slide one and it's been 5 minutes, that might be too much. So you also
Hmm.
need to make sure that you're staying in the amount of time that they've given you. You don't have too many slides, you don't have too many words, right? Like so that sort of practice, the more you can do that, the better your presentation is.
Hmm.
But if you
Hmm.
don't do that, it shows when you're presenting. It shows that you're not prepared. It shows that you didn't practice,
Hmm. Hmm.
and that's not going to help you get any offers.
Yeah, like if you have a week, if they give you a week to prepare and you're fumbling through it and it's obviously unrehearsed, even if you're qualified, that's not going to make a good impression.
That's right. It's one thing if you're having a casual conversation like this interview, like this conversation that you and I are having.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very unstructured. We're not going, we're not trying to get jobs or anything like that.
Sure, sure.
But if we're doing a presentation for like 5 or 6 people, then we want to make sure that we're rehearsing this over and over and over again.
Hmm. Hmm.
So then it becomes a little more of a choreography. You're not so worried about what point comes next. You're not so worried about like what's actually
Yeah,
on the slide.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what you're going to say, and you know that you're going to
Hmm.
say it in
Hmm.
whatever time
Hmm.
they've given you.
Great point. Yeah, yeah. And for my audience again, proper preparation is not writing a script and silently reading it to yourself in your head. It is actually giving the presentation, ideally with an audience.
Exactly. I tell people to practice with a friend, like,
Hmm.
your
Hmm.
partner. Um, you could do it by yourself in a room that's empty, but it's different when you have eyes on you.
Sure. Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you've got 5 or 6 people looking at you, and you might be like the 10th presentation they've seen, the pressure, you kind of feel that pressure and that
It's different.
stress.
Yeah.
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 So if you can do it in front of a human that can give you some feedback, uh, that will prepare you more than
Hmm. Hmm.
practicing by yourself 100 times.
Totally. And another thing that can be really helpful is recording and seeing your and going back and watching yourself present because I can give you a more unbiased look at maybe my words make sense, but I just seem so monotone and lifeless. Or maybe one part of the presentation becomes pretty unclear because it's more advanced. That's good information to have before the real thing and it actually matters.
Exactly right. Yep. Make all your mistakes in practice. Don't make them,
Yes.
on game
Have your
day.
worst takes out of the way
Yes.
before the real one. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. So speaking of that, I know that you have guided a few job seekers through the case study process. Can you give an example of what you've done to help one of your clients earn an offer via case study?
Yeah. So I have a great example. Let's call her Sue. So when Sue came to me, she was looking for a project manager, product manager sort of role.
Hmm.
Um, she ends up getting an interview at one of the biggest dental insurance companies in the US. And they were
Nice.
starting some sort of project where they would help people with disabilities get to doctor appointments. Now, to her, this was a dream job because she has a background in medicine, in dentistry, and she was like, I want this job. So we put together a sort of case study around how she would help them launch that program. So
Oh, nice,
how
nice.
would we get patients that aren't very mobile, don't have really good means of transportation? How do we get them to their appointments and back? And it has to be a good experience.
Hmm.
So I think the end result of that, like the product that she actually presented was maybe 5 slides.
Hmm.
She talked about the mission of the company, the values, and then a little bit about what were like 3 opportunities that she saw where she can add her value. So it was a
Hmm.
case study, but it was more on like the hypothetical side than it was about something that she's done in the past.
Hmm. Hmm.
We rehearsed it every single day. I think it was for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Nice. Wow.
This happened before the holidays. She gives her presentation. After the holidays, she gets an offer. The offer was
Hmm.
for $55,000 more than what she was targeting.
That is fantastic.
And it was
Wow.
because of how well she went prepared and how polished her presentation was. And I remember when she messaged me and she said, I don't want to negotiate the salary. I said, no, I understand.
Hmm.
Like it's above your
I've had some
target.
of those before. Like if it is
Yeah,
literally exactly what you want, or if it's more than what you'd expected, sometimes you just want to sign and take the W. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. And that's what she did. And it was because of this presentation that we did. Um, so so I've done that with a couple of other clients afterwards,
Hmm. Hmm.
that have landed jobs. It's
Hmm.
helped people get to final rounds.
Hmm.
Uh, I'm a huge fan of case study presentations. I think that they're a phenomenal way of showing your ability. And like I said, it shows your communication skills and it shows all sorts of other things. But the practice is, I think, like forget the presentation and that it was 5 slides and polished and everything else. If we didn't do the practice, she
Hmm.
wouldn't have gotten the result that she got.
Hmm. Awesome. So yeah, the importance of practice. And another thing that stands out with what you said is how aligned her case study was to that company. It's not like she was just presenting some project in a vacuum. She's like, this is the project, and here's how it aligns with your mission. Here are the specific parts of your company that I could add value to. And that's what you really want to do. The more that you can align what you have to offer with what they're looking for and their goals as a company, the better.
Exactly. And some of the information that she got for that presentation came from her previous interviews. Like when she interviewed with the
That's
hiring
awesome.
manager, for
Yes,
example.
yes.
Yeah.
Get good information from the first few rounds that can help you in the later rounds.
Yes. And she took notes up on that. She also got some information from the website, some information from the job description, and then she took all of that and turned it into 5 or 6 slides. So that's another
Mhm.
reason why it was so successful was she was speaking directly to their pain points and to their mission.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, congrats to you and her.
Yeah,
That's
well, congrats
fantastic.
to her. I honestly was more happy for her than anything else. She did a fantastic job. She's
Mhm,
still
mhm,
there. She's still thriving, and I couldn't be happier. So yeah, anytime I can help someone do those presentations, like I'm all
mhm.
for it.
That's awesome. So yeah, where can people follow and learn more from you?
So you can follow me on LinkedIn. My URL is in/Jonathan JONATHAN Corrales CORRALES, and that's where I mostly hang out. Connect with me, send
Mhm,
me a
mhm.
DM, let's chat. I'm always a big fan of Grant's content, and I'm always supporting there. So you can also just reply to my comment on Grant's post. I'm always like looking at them every single day, so I'm very easy to get in contact with.
Well, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, your support's been awesome, and I feel the same way about the stuff that you do. It's
Thank you.
beyond just being a great coach for your clients. I love having people like you in my network who are sharing good information and people I can go to if I want a second opinion, because I definitely don't know everything.
Likewise, yeah. I wish I knew everything. I wish I had silver
Yeah,
bullets, you
yeah.
know, but
Hmm,
but I
hmm.
don't. I mean, we're always learning. We're always learning from each other.
True, true.
I'm constantly learning about how to do resumes better. I'm constantly learning about, working with people that have English as a second language,
Hmm,
and I've
hmm,
asked you questions that you've helped me on. So yeah, we're always learning. Like we're always work in progresses.
hmm, hmm. 100%, yeah. So, Jonathan, thank you again for your time, man. I will put your links to both your website and your LinkedIn below. And for people watching, highly recommend giving Jonathan a follow. He shares stuff that is based on his real multi-decade experience as a professional, as a hiring manager for free. You have nothing to lose and tons of stuff to gain. So, Jonathan, thank you again for your time and looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks, Grant. Bye, everyone.